All right, we have a quorum. When the chair tells me, I will hit record, and then we're going to go into executive session. And then I'm going to kick Peter and Rich into the waiting room for that executive session. So I'll just
Is
wait
there
for Rich.
a motion for that and all?
We'll open the meeting and do all that. We'll let Rich take care of it all.
Okay, then go ahead and let everybody in, Bill.
Okay. Everybody is in, nobody in the waiting room.
Okay, so you're recording, Bill?
I am.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session for personnel contractual issues.
So moved.
Mark, you moved that?
Yep.
Second?
Kate seconds.
Thank you, Kate. So we have a motion and a second to move into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It appears as though the ayes have it.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill, we just got to keep track of when Rick comes on. He said he's going to be a little late.
Yes, I'll be aware of that, and I'm going to transfer host to Mark.
Echo off. Okay, so bye, Rich, and bye, Peter.
Okay, let me pause the recording, and I will send Rich.
And we'll just wait. We don't have to log back in, right?
No, I'm just putting you in the waiting.
Okay, so we by unanimous consent at 6:14 p.m. we're out of executive session.
Rich?
Yep.
I'd like to move that that we have the chair sign the memorandum of understanding that was presented in executive session.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Kate seconds it. So just for people's knowledge, the memorandum of understanding is that we will not be offering because our vote for the budget is off until the 22nd of May. It's going to be to that we'll send out contracts after that date on, I believe, on the 28th of May, Bill.
Yeah, we commit to sending them out before May 28th.
And then the staff has till June 11th to return them.
That is correct.
Okay, so Mark, you get first shot at it if you have any comments.
Nope, I'm good.
Kate, you second.
No comments.
Dwight, did you have something?
No, thanks. Good.
Okay. Does anybody? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify so by saying aye.
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 So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. That motion carries. Bill, I'm going to sign this and I will forward it off to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. On the second issue, we were in executive session on. Go ahead, Dwight.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move that we approve the letter that was submitted to the board in executive session for a personnel matter.
Okay, well, because it's in public, so go ahead and just say what it is.
Okay, the letter was from a teacher in Wardsboro, allowing her child to attend the Wardboro Elementary School.
From
Jamaica?
Yeah, from grade.
Oh, grade. I'm not
Till
sure.
she graduates. What grade?
Kindergarten.
The language in the letter is for next year and future years.
Okay. Is that a good motion, Dwight?
That's good.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Kate seconds.
Kate seconds it. Peter, can you just read the motion back quick?
As I get it, to approve the letter presented to the board in executive session from a teacher in Wardsboro, allowing their child to attend Wardsboro Elementary School next year and in future years.
Okay, so the motion was made, seconded. Dwight, go ahead. You get first dibs at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say other than this was presented to us. It was a difficult discussion, but I believe it's something we should extend to our teachers in these difficult times during COVID.
Okay. Kate, you got second shot.
I think this is a unique circumstance also for not only COVID, but for rural communities and transportation logistics and challenges that many families in our area face.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Mark, and then Laura.
Would it be appropriate to ask Bill to read from the August 17th letter?
Was that made public, Bill? Oh, you got to unmute your sir.
It is the minutes from the meeting of August 17th, 2020.
Okay, go ahead and read from that then.
Mr. Schaber moved that specific to the 2021 school year and only pre-K, the school district accepts the pre-K tuition from the sending district and does not charge for the additional hours that the student attends, which would be 25 hours, special circumstances for this year only. For the school staff in specific relation to pre-K, this is not a precedent and it ends on June 30th, 2021. This will not be repeated for the 21-22 school year for any grades of the River Valley Unified School District and along with any recommendations from the labor attorney. Seconded by Mr. Borum, all in favor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comment or you good with that?
I'm good.
Laura, you asked to speak.
So I think that we have heard some really compelling arguments about this topic. Unfortunately, this is not a this is an ongoing situation and not limited to the state of emergency. So I'm not going to be able to support this.
Okay, is there any other comments from anybody? Are you all ready to, go ahead, Dwight.
I guess there's one more thing I'm thinking of. I mean, it just, it seems to me that, people move in from out of town, have secondary students, so we have no control over that, obviously, and that can impact our budget. But now we have an opportunity to help us, a member of our community, a member of the staff in a way that could improve her ability to teach. And I think it's something we should move forward with.
Okay. Any other comments? Are you ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay.
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 Okay. It appears as though it's not a unanimous decision. So Peter, would you please do as a roll call vote, Peter, we got to record how people vote. Not just that they're.
Yep. We got two opposing as I heard it, but you might want to go
but you got to list who they are, okay? So we're going to do a roll call vote, okay?
Yep,
So Dwight, I'm going to go to you first since you made the motion.
Aye.
Kate, I'm going to go to you second because you seconded the motion.
Aye.
Laura, I'm going to go to you next because you are the senior most member.
Nay.
Mark, you're next.
Nay.
Okay, so it's a vote of 2-2. The chair chooses not to vote. So the motion dies. It did not receive a majority of those here. So the motion dies. And we will move on to our regular meeting. Do we have any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Mark.
no, I'm sorry. No.
Oh, I'm going to ask that we.
I am leaving.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Go blue.
Yeah, he's laughing at my picks. I'm going to ask that we move up the finalized annual meeting and the school district auditor issues and the financial stuff so that we can let so that we can let Lori and Andy over there on my left go earlier. Does anybody have a problem with that? Mark, go ahead.
I have no problem with that, but can we move the reviewing the minutes to the end also?
Yeah, no, we're going to move right into everything
Okay.
we're going to move into is we're going to move down to Andy first and then Lori second. Okay? So I sent you guys all a proposed agenda for the annual meeting. Did everybody get a chance to look at that? So I wanted to make some comments on it, if you guys are okay with that. And this is why I do not always like my life. Hang on one second. I got to go somewhere else. Is it possible, Mark, you got control of the board? Can you put the agenda up so we can all see it?
I don't have control of the board, but yes, I can put the agenda up.
You're not running the meeting?
Oh, I am, but I don't have control of the board.
Oh, I meant the screen. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry about that.
Budget warning. Can you see it?
Yes. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd like to do, if it's okay, I don't see Andy anymore. Andy, can you like unmute yourself so you show up?
I'm here.
Okay.
How are you?
What I'm thinking of doing, Andy, is we'll go down by articles and see if anybody has any issues. Did you want to say anything before we run through this?
Nope.
Okay, so we filled in up top. The last ones didn't have a location. So Andy did check with the Wardsboro Select Board at 71 Main Street, and we're okay to use the 10 at 10 a.m. And so that first paragraph we're good on. The second, Articles 14 and 15 to be voted by Australian ballot. So the ballots are going to be at the same location because Andy can't be present for the live meeting. He has to be able to see the polls, or it would just be too difficult to try to do it in a different location. So we are able to just have the vote at the one location. I know, Mark, you had a question about that, about voting in Dover, but I believe, Andy, correct us if we're wrong, people can still request absentee ballots for those two articles, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just going to be the one place. So if you want to vote in person, you have to go sometime between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. And then for those two articles. Andy, are you going to have enough help, or should a couple board members plan on being there to help you with that, going till 7 at night on a Saturday night in downtown Wardsboro?
I should have at least one other person there the whole time until we wrap up and we're done. Jackie, the town clerk in Wardsboro, has offered her help, but I would like one of you maybe to be present as well. It doesn't matter who that is, but that would help me.
Hey, Laura, you had your hand up.
I am willing to do that if Andy is willing to gently remind me.
Awesome.
That I said
You got
I'm
it.
going to put it on my calendar, but sometimes,
Thank you, Laura.
And Andy, I was going to volunteer too because I like hanging out in Wardsboro. Maybe they'll do a square dance at the town hall for us too.
The more the merrier.
Hey, Mark, I only see 3 or 4 people, so you're going to have to just keep track if anybody else is requesting to be asked.
I was about to say that I can't see the list at all while I'm sharing the screen. So I need somebody else to keep an eye on the participant list.
Matt, can you do that for us?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. So you'll cut in, Matt, if you need to, okay?
I will. I will cut in if I must.
Okay.
And Rich,
Yes, go ahead. Mark.
I just want to say I understand the logistical issues with having a polling site in both Wardsboro and Dover, but I just want to register an objection to not having a physical location in Dover for Dover residents to vote at.
Hey, Andy, I got a question for you. We're, because of our agreement, our articles of agreement, we're required to do 2 informational meetings, 1 in each town. If we did a live one in Dover, can we let people know? Can we set up a place to absentee ballot and people can come to that meeting and request a ballot to vote absentee by?
That's a possibility. So would the Dover meeting be the week prior to the annual meeting?
What we can do is we can fit it in so it works for you. However, to allow for the absentee voting, and I think, Mark, would that help your concern?
Yeah, I think that would be a good solution.
Andy, we'll schedule that informational meeting around what you need. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, let's do that then, Mark. Okay. Is Laura and the rest of the board, are you guys good with that? Kate and Dwight?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then the next little couple sentences is just that, I don't know what it's going to be now because it changes weekly, but, we're going to do whatever recommendations we get from all places, the CDC and from the Secretary of State's office. And so we'll follow that to make the meeting as healthy as we can. So Article 1 is pretty straightforward. Article 2 and Article 3. Does anybody have any questions on those 3 articles? Okay, if not, let's go to Article 4. This is a little different than in years past. This would be to elect 3 auditors to serve if Article 14 fails. And so I think it's sort of like when we did the vote to set up the river valleys. We asked people to vote for school district members, even though the article may fail. So I have that in there. Is there any questions about that from anybody? Everybody's good? Okay, Article 5 is the stipends. It's the same as the last few years. Everybody all set with that? Article 6 is approved mileage reimbursement. That's pretty standard.
Yeah, Rich?
Yep, Mark.
I think occurred should be occurs. I think it should be an S instead of a D.
Can you fix that?
I can send you an email to fix it.
Okay, send me an email to fix it.
Okay.
Andy, are you okay with that change?
I'll defer to Mark. I wasn't paying too much attention.
Okay.
To what he said.
Just a grammar thing.
Cool.
In Article 6, instead of in which the mileage occurred, he wants to say occurs.
Oh.
You're a writer. I mean, you're an English guy.
I don't think occurred is correct.
Matt's shaking his head yes.
That's a good one. I don't know. Might be able to go both ways, depending.
I'm okay with occurred because it's referring to reimbursement, which is a past tense item.
Right. That's right.
So I'd be okay with occurred, but occurs would also probably be okay.
Unless you get paid as you're driving.
Right.
Hey, look at that. My lead got me something right. And not only can you come to a school board meeting and hear school board business, but you can get education.
My wife's an English teacher. I'll bring her in.
Thank you, Dwight. Mark, I guess we're going to leave it as occurred.
Okay.
So Article 7, this article is shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than. And I had some conversations with Lori. I'd like to put a number in there of instead of a number, but not more than, I'm sorry. or I'm sorry, I'd like to put a number in there of $150,000. And we
So
don't
if,
know what we're going to have in that fund, but again, that's why we say not more. So if we only have 100,000 in there, we can move that. But let's say we get 170,000, we're only, we do, and that's kind of how we've left it in the past.
so Rich,
Go ahead, Mark.
if it's, but not more than, does the board have a say in what that amount ends up being?
The board has the total say.
Okay. No, if we put in 150,000, I just want to make sure I understand. If we put in 150,000, then come a year from now, or whenever it is that the decision has to be made, how much would be moved, we could then vote on a particular number.
Yeah, what we will do is we have to, by the end of May, file a report with the state. And when Lori files that report, she'll show an offsetting revenue. So it actually goes in our revenue line item. So what we usually do is we look at what we have and we try to shoot for a tax rate as close to our previous year's tax rate. So we would use that number up to 150. If it only took 75 to get us, within a couple pennies of the previous year's tax rate, we could do less. And then we have a little reserve left for the following year, or we could do up to 150. That's the way we've been doing it for, at least in Dover, for the last 20 years.
Yeah, but I think you always had bigger reserves.
Right. So the number used to be 270. It used to always be a third of the reserve.
But wouldn't this, if we put in 150, isn't that almost the entire? If we have the surplus that is currently predicted, then our reserve outside of, not including the transportation and the building, will be somewhere between 150 and 200. Am I correct?
No, we're hoping that it may be around 150.
Okay, so it would be our entire reserve then.
Right. We have no reserves right now. We're all out of money in reserves.
So I've got a concern about that.
We may have a few $1,000s, but we also have money in those two specific reserves and a restricted reserve. So we have like 200 in the building, we have 100 in transportation, and I think we have another 30 to 40 in restricted that we can't use in other places. And then there is a little bit of money left over. We're not sure because we still haven't finished up the 2020 audit. Through the last Dover audit is still kind of up in the air a little bit. And until that gets finalized, we won't know. That's why we'll know better. And again, we can have this conversation and we can adjust this number in a live meeting. We can say, this would be the motion, but we can ask for an amendment to make it whatever number we think. And we'll have a better feel for that in May at the meeting.
I wouldn't want to see that number be more than 50, at most 50% of what the predicted reserve is.
Well, it's not, and it's okay.
That's just me.
Nope, that's fine. Any other thoughts from the board?
Yes.
Go ahead, Laura, and then Dwight.
So we're going to be in the penalty with this number.
We're going to be in the penalty with whatever numbers we do.
Yeah.
Unless we find $300 and something thousand somewhere, we're in the penalty box.
So, well, I'm hopeful that we'll see some changes in the excess spending, but I think, I would like to see us,
Mark, again, my feeling is if we put 150 in there, we can change that at town meeting. So
yeah,
I just need to get, and I say town meeting, I'm going to use that word interchangeably. At the school district meeting, if we have the 150 in there, then, and we decide in a future meeting that we want to just do a third, and we'll hopefully in May when we prep for the informational meetings, we'll have a better number because we'll have another 2 months under our belt to see what that number may be. And hopefully that audit will finally get done. So we can also at the informational meetings tell people that, we're going to ask for this at the annual meeting too. So my suggestion, guys, is use the 150 and then we'll adjust it later.
So I'd be more comfortable if we did 75 and adjust it later if possible. Do it the other direction from what you're suggesting.
Okay, go ahead, Dwight.
Just a quick question. Do we budget that in the operational budget, that income? Is that budgeted?
Well, no, remember, operational is expenditures. It's not income. So what happens is if we move money over and when we fill out the form we send to the state, it goes in other income. So
right.
We have a line item, we have a whole separate section, but we don't vote on it of income. If we had Dutch Property Management making a $500,000 donation to the school district every year, then that would show up as other income, just like this offsetting money from the reserve fund. And that all comes off when they so that comes out before they figure out whether or not we're in the, what our per pupil spending is. And that,
yeah, I wouldn't budget for that.
Huh?
I wouldn't budget for that.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
You got to pay it to Uncle Sammy. Donate it to us.
Right.
But anyway.
All right. So it's not a budget, even though it's income, it's not a budgeted line item.
It's not a line item that gets approved or voted on.
Okay.
So what do you want to see for a number in there, Dwight?
It's just for the situation. I guess I would like to lower it a little bit. I'd like to see like 100,000 be a number. I can't imagine us having more than that and being able to put more than that comfortably based on where we are now and where we expect to be. But I don't have a crystal ball either.
Okay. Kate, I can't see you, but do you have any thoughts?
No, no, not at this time.
Hey, Matt, is Rick here yet?
I don't see anybody in the waiting room, although I think that would be on Mark's screen. I'm not sure I would see it.
All right, hold on. Yes, he is.
Can you let him in?
I did. And
Rick?
Shannon has his hand up, or her hand up.
Okay, well, we're going to go to Rick first. Hey, Rick.
Looks like he's still getting his audio connected.
Okay, go ahead. Who else had their hand up?
Shannon Wheeler.
It's Shannon. So when you're screen sharing and if you'd like to see the participant list, on that green box at the top, it says you're viewing Mark's screen. Next to it is a view options. If you click it and exit full screen, you'll get your participant list back.
What do I have to hit?
I think she's talking to me.
Oh, we could also stop screen sharing right now.
Yeah,
probably.
I don't have that option, Shannon, because I'm on a Chromebook.
It's very handy dandy if you need it in the future.
Thank you, Shannon. You want to come to my office and help me with this?
No, I do not, but thanks for the offer.
I can't see I don't have the agenda with me and I have to go off to another screen to see the agenda. When we get back to, I can't handle this much longer. You guys are going to forgive me for a second. Somebody talk to Rick and find out what he thinks for a number, and you guys need to decide a number. I'll be right back. Okay?
A number for what?
To transfer to offset the taxes. I suggested 150. Mark wants 75, and Dwight went right in the middle at 100.
Okay.
Richard, do you need I was just saying we should stop screen sharing because there's nothing up there. Do you need that back up?
Well, I just don't have it. So give me a couple minutes. You guys decide what you're going to put in there. I'll be right back.
So, Lori, what is the number that if all things remain equal, you would expect to have in our reserve fund, not including the building and transportation, for next year?
That it's still up in the air, as we all know, but I would be comfortable with 150, up to 150, right? So it's not more than 150. So, I think that you can present a tax rate based on expenses, because that's what the voters are voting on, right? They're voting on an expense budget, not a tax rate. And then we see where we come out and then make the move at that point. So in the annual report, it can list the tax rate, the proposed tax rate based on the expenses, with the caveat as this could be lower due to several different things, right? I mean, if something happens with the excess spending threshold, taxes will be lower. If something happens with, having more reserves than we anticipated, then the full 150 could be used, and that would lower tax rates. You see what I mean? So
My concern is having no reserves left. Do we spend it all on this, so to speak?
it would spend down most of it, yes.
Okay.
Which is why you're proposing up to, right?
Exactly, up to.
Okay, which means we could do 75 if we don't feel comfortable at 150, spending it down to nothing, or we could do 50. We could do 150. It depends on where we end up.
Exactly. And that can all happen just before it's submitted to the state, right? Revenues can change up until May 31st or June 1st when we submit to the state.
So Rick, we can also do it the other way. We can put 75 or 50, and if there's more available in reserves, you can ask the people at the meeting to.
How do you word that though, Mark?
Well, it's worded just because we can ask for an amendment to the article.
But then don't we have to have another meeting?
No, we can amend it because it's a live meeting. So
Okay.
So the
What you're
article
saying
will be
is-
moved with whatever number we have in it. And then we can ask at the informational meetings, we can give them a different number. And then we can, or we can ask for them to amend it to a different thing, or to a different number. We also, when we first started doing this, we used to put a rate to be determined by the electorate.
Right.
Mary Lou did not like that. She always wanted to see numbers. So that's why we switched it to numbers. I don't know, Andy, you have any thoughts on that?
I like Lori's comment that this is an up to number. So if you word it as no more than X amount, not only can you change it, or the people can change it at the meeting, but if it's voted and approved that way, then you folks have the final discretion in June if there's some unforeseen circumstances like Lori was talking about. You don't have to spend what the people told you could, depending on what happens in June. So I think the numbers you're talking about are, it's academic almost, because the people get to change it at your annual meeting. And if you word it as up to, then you folks have discretion ultimately, even if the people vote to approve it.
Okay, let me do this.
My hand up.
Pardon, Laura, yeah. I want to get Kate and Laura because they haven't weighed in on this. So let's hear what you guys think.
So I would just say, I think, just to be clear, whatever we put in here, the odds are pretty good we're going to be changing the number. And so the question is, do we want to be, optimistic, or, and I don't actually think it's optimistic based on what Lori is seeing right now. Lori, is that including is that projecting federal funds?
No, this is just your general fund surplus. And
Yeah.
of course, there may be some federal money that offsets, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I would be comfortable going with the 150 because of the additional funds that are coming in. Unless Lori thinks that that's not, that's a bad move for us, just in terms of, no, it's not. I mean,
Well, and the other thing is, if we put 150, but we only have 100, we can't move 150.
well, we're going to change it. I mean, we're almost certainly going to change it.
We never have not changed budgets. Go ahead, Kate.
So I think we should go with the recommendation that I'm hearing from the data that Lori's pulled together, and then what Andy's saying up to, and then we can change the number as needed. We can adjust it down. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
And that's what I had, but not more than. Andy, is that okay with you instead of an up to?
Yeah, not more than. Yeah, is that completely clear that you have discretion to spend less?
I think so, because it's been this way for 25 years, at least on the Dover side.
Okay.
And it's the way, it's what we did last year, we discussed, and it's exactly how it's worded.
Does that mean that if there's 150 in reserves, that 150 is going towards that though?
No, we get to decide that, Mark. It's what I've been saying.
Well, I mean, we only have a few days. The meeting's the 22nd, and it has to be in by.
Mark, we'll probably know even before that. We'll probably know at the informational meetings, because we'll have another 2 months of data for us. That's why I'm saying is it's not that big a deal. And the only reason I like the higher number is I want people more prepared for the higher number, because that makes them feel, I don't know. It's whatever you guys want to do. So listen, let's just do this. We've got 3 different numbers out there. I recommended 150. Mark recommended 75. Dwight wants to see it 100. You know what? So you got 3 votes right there. So Laura, Rick, and Kate, tell us what you think, and then.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we.
Well, it's not a motion, just whatever you want to do.
Okay, I want to make it 150.
Okay, Kate, what do you want to do?
Sold at 150.
Okay. Rick?
I'm fine at 150. I think the wording might want to be not to exceed. That might be clear to everybody.
Okay. So is everybody okay not to exceed 150,000? Anybody have a problem with that? No, Dwight, Mark, you're good with it?
No, I'm not, but I'm outvoted, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think you're selling the taxpayers something that they're not gonna be able to buy.
Okay.
I mean, my only concern is if that's all obviously we can change it, but if that's all we have left and we spend, I don't want to spend it all, but I think we're prudent enough to be able to make the right decision. So that's fine.
Okay.
Richard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to take an exception with my good friend from Dover. We have, I think, not gone to town meetings with bad surprises in the past. We don't have a track record for doing that. So I feel pretty good about doing this. I don't feel like we're selling the voters something. I understand the concern, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that position, but I don't think that this is irresponsible or selling the voters something that is not possible. I think we have experienced financial folks. The chair has been doing this for 25 years, and I think this is a decent projection. So I think we just have a difference of comfort level.
Mark, you haven't been recognized. Hang on. Unless the rest of the board wants to, I'd like to move on. It's, now 10:07. We got a lot of stuff. We're not even gotten started on the agenda. We have a majority of people that are comfortable with us doing the 150. Mark, like you said, I appreciate your thoughts. But when we vote on it, you can vote against it. That's fine. Let's just move on, guys, because we haven't even got through the warning yet. Article 8. So the voters of River Valley's approve to expend $6,037,600. Right now it looks to be 20,000 over 20,000 per equalized pupil. Lori, what was that percentage?
So it's 16.52 higher. So that is based on, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that 6,037,600 is based on the expense budget before the, any other articles, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on that, but it's 16.52%.
Okay, so that will go where it says new percentage. So there won't be the parentheses. It'll just be 16.52% in the current year. And that's the budget we've all kind of lived with. We've talked about it. It's an operational budget, and it's what our administrators have recommended that we expend. So are there any questions on that? No. Okay, let's move to Article 9. To move any surplus from the FY21 into the general reserve funds reserved for future use approved by the voters, which are already kind of approving in Article 7. Same article we've had in the past. It's no different than 20 some odd years, at least in Dover. I'm not sure about Wardsboro. Is everybody good with that? Article 10. So the voters of the River Valley set the tuition rate at $18,490, which is the Burton sending school tuition for the 21-22 year. So that's something that both Dover had done for a few years as a result of a petition, two petitions, one to do the sending rate for Burton, and then secondly, a few years after that, we got a petition to do it for all secondary, not just those that are going to Burton. I know Wardsboro approved it in full in their I know there was a higher amount the previous year, and then the last year it was just Wardsboro. They approved the Burton sending school tuition rate. So if we choose not to, if you want to just do something different, we can choose not to put an article in, and then by default, the number becomes the statewide average tuition. The law states that unless otherwise approved annually by the electorate, and I'm not going to get it word for word, I'm sure if somebody wants to look it up, they can correct me. But the basic intent of the law is that you pay the statewide average tuition unless the electorate annually, so that's why this has to be in every year, approves a different rate. And that's why we're using the Burton sending school tuition rate, because that's what voters have approved in both towns in the past. So, Mark, you got a comment?
Yeah, so a two-parter. One, I think we owe it to the voters to leave this on there because they have petitioned in the past. But I think that come the annual meeting, we should recommend against it because that would save us, if all the students went to Brattleboro, it would save us about $140,000. Now, they're not all going to go there, but in a year when our budget is up so much, and that right now we're looking at a 12-cent increase just because of the penalty. I think we owe it to our taxpayers to be prudent here and go with the state average.
So what we can do is, oh, go ahead, Kate, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to offer another opinion that Brattleboro is a very far place away, and it doesn't always make sense for a lot of our families. We owe it to our taxpayers to give them choices because that's what our district has historically offered.
Okay, so can I say that this is not a discussion we need to have tonight? So again, because we're running out of time, and Mark, you're going to think I hate you, but I don't.
Well, yeah, I'd like to respond to that at least.
Okay.
Kate, we're not taking away any choices, and I said not all those students would go to Brattleboro. That made for easy math. Some will go to Leland and Gray, some will still go to Burton, and we're not taking away choice in any way, shape, or form.
So Mark, can I ask the board? I don't want to have this discussion about how we want to do our stand. Do we all agree that this should go in the way this is written? That's the question we need to deal with. I want to try to stay focused on that. if you guys want in another meeting, we can argue out what we want to recommend later. I just think we got to get this, I have to tonight have this done, approved and voted on so we can move forward, so we can actually have our meeting in May. So can we all agree? Is there anybody that doesn't want to see this article in there?
Laura's hand is up.
Oh, go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
You never put it down.
Oh, the yellow hand of fate.
No, I'm fine with keeping it in there. I would support make a later discussion about whether or not we recommend it.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to prep for our informational meetings. And I think if the board's going to take a different stand, then we should discuss it at those informational meetings. Or we should discuss it prior to the informational meetings. So when it comes up in the informational meetings, we can, have this discussion and hopefully the board can be unified. And, we're not always going to be unified on everything. Dwight, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree to leave it in there, and certainly we can discuss it, but I have to disagree tremendously with Mark says. Absolutely, it will take away opportunities for children in this valley
So
not being
Dwight,
able to afford to go to schools. So just want to get that in there too. We can discuss that as well at a later time.
Please, let's do that so we can actually maybe get this done tonight. Article 11 is the reserve funds and how much we want to fund them with. So we were looking to put 20,000 in buildings and 10,000 in transportation. I had in parentheses with funds raised by taxes or other methods. I think what we should just do is to fund those reserves in the amount of, because how it's going to work. And Laura, you started going, or I think we may have started going there when I was running down the other end of the building. I think that, we talked about maybe taking some reserve money and put against that. We talked about if there was a surplus using that versus not using it to offset taxes. But if you really think about this, and hopefully I'll make this clear so that we can understand it, we're going to have an operational number we're going to vote. We're going to have these extra articles, the next the next two articles we're going to vote. And that's going to be a sum of money. That's going to be what we're going to need to raise in taxes. If we were to take the one article to make it really simple and say, we're just going to take a sum of money, whatever is we can put in from Article 7 to just offset the base tax rate, it's the same as voting some of the money into the next two articles and some into the reserve or some into offset the operational. So I think what we should just do is it's all going to be raised in taxes, and all we're going to do is whatever funds we decide from Article 7 are just going to offset the taxes. So it's going to be the same exact tax rate if we put a little against the operational and a little against the next couple articles. It's like 6 of one, half dozen the other, potato. So my suggestion is that we just change that wording to fund those reserves in the amount of, and then it's capital improvements, buildings 20, and transportation 10. Is everybody okay with that? Go ahead, Mark.
One, there is an S in transportation. And two, for Article 11 and 12, if we put in there that it's coming out of the surplus, and that's tax money, that's money we don't have to raise from taxes.
So we won't be able to offset the operational as much, Mark. So we'll raise it on the other side. We're going to raise it somewhere, no matter where we do it. So I'm just trying to make it cleaner. So you've got $30,000. You can either put it on this article or you're going to put it against the operational. Or you can put it against the Article 12. It's all coming out the same. Those three numbers are going to get added up to one big number, okay? Because when Lori fills out the form at the end of the year, when we send it up to the state for what our taxes are going to be, and then she'll take that 150 or whatever that amount is off. So it doesn't matter how we do it. I think it's cleaner and easier for Lori if we just say we're going to raise it in taxes. We're going to fund it, and then we take the money off in Article 8, from the Article 7. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Everybody good with that? Then Article 12 is the, oh, I took the S out too, Mark, thank you. Article 12, so the voters approve school board to expend up to $30,000 for design, implementation, maintenance of a website for the district and schools. And just so you know, if that gets approved, it will be up to 30,000. So Lori is going to put down that we're spending $30,000. If we only spend 25, that's fine. That will be part of our surplus the following year. But we will have to, you know, we're going to, whatever number that is, and if that's a good number, that's fine. That's what we're going to wind up, you know, being put in the report to the state to base our taxes. And I think, again, that just, you know, it's being funded in the amount of, and it's just coming from the voters. Laura, is your hand up? Or are you? Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I'm looking for it now. I believe the motion that we passed at the last meeting included at the end of it saying for fiscal year 22.
Okay, I have no problem adding that. Or how about in fiscal year 22?
Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't sure if you had taken that out for a reason or not.
I may have missed that. For in FY 22. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Then Article.
Hey.
15, oh, go ahead, Rick.
Good with me.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, it's fine with me. I just was a little late on unmuting myself.
Okay, sorry. So Article 13 is just a standard article, and then Article 14 is the three positions. Dwight, is it, again, I always forget, is it you there up this year, Rick?
It's Dwight.
It's Dwight, okay.
Beat me to the button. Yeah, it's me.
Okay, so Dwight and Kate, and then and it's me in Dover. So there'll be those three. And then the last thing is, so the voters of the River Valley Unified School District eliminate the office of school district auditors allowed in Title 17, Vermont Statutes Annotated Section 2651B. So this actually comes from the information that Bill got from the attorney last year. Not from the attorney. This advice came from JP Isabel.
Yeah, Rich, I found the sheet that you're looking at finally. I did get that information from the Secretary of State's office.
Oh, that was from you?
Yeah, I forgot I
Sorry.
did it.
Mine says to Bill Anton from her. That's why I thought it.
JP's a guy.
Oh, sorry.
Whatever.
Anyways, we can, you know, basically this person from the Secretary of State's office said that the proper way to do it is you have to vote on it in an annual meeting. The electorate has to vote on it. And if we do vote on it, then we have to do a professional audit, which Lori does anyways. Any discussion on that? Are you guys okay?
Well, hopefully we'll have some auditors there so that they can explain exactly what they've done over the last 2 years.
We have had one of the auditors there every meeting so far, so hopefully he'll show up.
Well,
Yes.
That sounds like fighting words.
So then what I would ask is, with those changes that we made tonight.
I have one more thing on the board of directors. You've
Yep.
got to change out one name on
Where?
the back, on the bottom of the page.
Oh.
You still have Barry listed.
No, that really says Kate Rideout.
I thought it did. I thought my
Yeah.
letters were just getting jumbled.
Yeah, no, they are. It's a word search thing. Can you make Kate out of that?
Close.
Okay, Mark, if we get
If-
approved with this, I'm gonna send this to you in,
Can-
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask if we can make two type formatting questions.
Yeah.
One, can we stick to either fiscal year 22 or 2021-2022 school year, so that in each of the articles we have consistency. Thank you, Tammy. We have consistency. And And also in Article 7, you have board in italic, and in Article 9, you have the school board in italics.
Okay, so let's do this, guys. So where I was headed, Mark, is if we're okay with this, with a few little typo corrections, if everybody's good with this, I'd like to just get a motion to approve the warning. And then, Mark, between you and I and Andy, we'll make a good, clean copy. And then we'll get it down to Andy's office, and I'm going to need as many people who can show up to sign it as they can. So, Dwight, I'm hoping that at least if the 3 from Dover and you can come down to Andy's office the middle of this week, we can get it signed. But if we vote on it, at least then we're going to be moving it forward. Remember, though, one thing, and we went through it all, so nobody brought it up, but when we vote on this, we're also voting that we're asking for an operational budget of $6,037,600. So is everybody okay with that, or could we make a motion to approve it?
So moved. This is Rick.
Okay, so Rick moved. Do I have a second?
8 seconds.
Okay, Rick moves and Kate seconds. Is there any, Rick, you get first. Speaking.
I don't have anything to discuss. It's fine the way, like you said, clean up the typos. And I think that it's fine. It makes sense the way it is. And I think we can explain things to folks.
Okay, Kate, you're second.
I agree with Rick. I think, we just make a couple cleanups and we move forward.
Okay. Anybody else, Mark, Laura, or Andrew? No.
Are you recognizing me?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm pointing at you. Can't you
So just to be clear, right? We'll have this, a clean copy of this by the end of the day tomorrow, so that folks can come into my office after that and sign it. The faster you get in to sign it, the better, the less worry on my part. That's all I wanted to know.
No, and you're okay with everything we discussed? You're comfortable with it?
Yep.
Okay.
Andy, what are your office hours?
So you can walk in without an appointment Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, 9 to noon and 1 to 5. But if you need an appointment, if those hours don't work for you, give me a call and I'll meet you wherever you need, whenever you need.
Well, I was also going to say, Kate, if you come down and drop off at Mount Snow, I could bring a clean copy up for you to sign. I can meet you at Mount Snow if you tell me what time you're there.
I can make it down to Andy's office.
Okay.
I can make that.
Cool.
Okay, Rick, you would be the only free radical then. Do you come to Dover much anymore?
Yeah, no, it's no big deal. Anytime tomorrow afternoon, you said, for starters?
Rich, do you think
Andy?
it's...
Hang on one sec. Mark, how can you make these changes?
If you send me the Word document, I can make them within an hour of us getting off the call tonight.
Okay, Andy, we're going to have it to you first thing tomorrow morning.
Perfect.
Inbox
So yeah,
when you
Rick,
show up.
tomorrow afternoon.
Right, but you need to just check it in case Mark and I miss something, because we'll be the last two to see it before you.
I will. And we're not going to tell anybody else this, but we'll make the signature page separate from all of the rest of the pages, right? So that if we have to change one of the typos afterward, we can, but you didn't hear me say that.
No, and I didn't, it's not recorded either, that little red
Right.
corner. Okay, is there any more discussion from anybody? Okay, all those in favor of the do we need to reread the motion, or is everybody good with the motion? Okay, I'm getting thumbs up from a couple. So all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Thank you, everybody. Andy, thank you very much. I got two quick questions for you. Are you using a tabulator for these two articles?
So my plan is to, yes, use the tabulator. Now, we have a meeting the 30th of March with the select boards of Dover and Wardsboro. Dover's going to call into Wardsboro's meeting. Those two select boards together are your Board of Civil Authority, basically, and they need to authorize the use of the tabulator. I don't anticipate them not authorizing the use of the tabulator, but that's our plan, is to use the tabulator. Jackie has actually offered use of her tabulator since it's in Wardsboro and will save me lugging things around. So yeah, that's the plan, and that will make everything a lot safer as far as counting votes go and COVID goes, and easier.
Hey, and then just one other quick thing. So because of the special rules, we don't need to get petitions signed for the three of us that are running for office. Well, actually, I believe everybody still wants to run.
That's correct. No petitions, just consent forms. I think I have all of your consent forms, don't I?
I think you have Kate's and you should have had mine. I think Kate,
I don't know.
I don't think I've turned it in yet, Andy, but I'll
Okay.
print it off and bring it down for when I come down this week.
Fantastic.
Okay.
and I seem to have lost Dwight. Is he not here anymore?
I don't see him.
Wardsboro Internet.
Okay. So we'll make sure Dwight gets it down when he comes to sign too, Andy.
And one thing I'll just mention that you don't have to worry about, but just wanted in your memory bank, the Secretary of State's office has grants available for COVID-related expenses. We should be able to get our tabulator configured for that. Ballots printed for that. But the tent, as far as I tell from their list of approved expenses, wouldn't work. However, Wardsboro Select Board has offered to pick up the entire cost of the tent and not ask us to pay any. I don't know. Now, I'm guessing that the vendors for the ballots and the tabulator configuration will wait on the money from the Secretary of State's office. I don't imagine you would have to come up with that money before it's available from the Secretary of State's office. I wanted to just mention that. I had grants from the Secretary of State's office for the November election. They were very prompt. I don't imagine they're going to run out of money. I don't foresee any problems, but I just wanted to put that out there so that you're aware we're going to get bills and they should be paid for. And I'll get with you, Lori or Marco, about how we work all that.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions or anything for Andy? We still have a quorum, right? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. Andy, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No, Laura, you got to leave at 7:30, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I had vote on operational, vote on capital, and vote on articles. So we voted on all the articles. We voted an operational budget and capital numbers in there. So I think we're all good. Nobody had a problem about the school auditors. So I think we kind of covered all that and finalized the annual meeting, unless somebody disagrees with me. I'd like to move on to the annual report, because then that will be the end of what we need to hold Lori here for. Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, just Bill asked me to stay for the deep dive conversation, so.
Okay, so you're here for a few minutes.
Yeah, so.
Laura, you've got 15 minutes. Is there anything you want to see us discuss before we kind of go back to the agenda? And unmute yourself if you do.
I do think that it's important. I know I am certainly making the case. I think it's important to stay in touch with our senators about the excess spending penalty. There is a bill that's moving out of the Senate on the weights, but it is a task force looking at, recommending an implementation plan for next year. We really need to see some financial relief this year. I probably cannot say that any louder than I am already saying it. But to the extent that, that you all are getting requests to weigh in, I hope that you will consider doing so. So the yield bill is on the floor this week, which will tell us a few things. So.
And when is that going to get discussed? Go, and then Mark, I'll hit you.
The yield bill it's on the floor to be discussed on Wednesday. And so it'll be on second reading on Wednesday and third reading on Thursday, and then it'll go over to the Senate. And I believe that S13 is coming out of the Senate. It's on the floor on Wednesday and will be in the Senate. So they'll both be on the floor Wednesday and Thursday and swapping. So, it's good that we have things moving, but, there's no guarantee. And so far, the yield bill has nothing in it that's helpful. The yield bill has nothing in it that's helpful. One other aspect, a bill that I voted against this week was around school construction. There's a mandate for requiring all districts to have a facilities manager and create a 5-year capital plan. And I know that, our district, both supervisor unions that I represent have facilities managers. I know we have a plan, but there was no additional funding for districts that don't have that in place. And given that we have not corrected the weights, that could actually push districts up closer to the excess spending penalty, which I spoke about on the floor. Did not win, but I did vote against that. And hopefully we can get some money in there for districts to get that 5-year planning done. There's along with that, the state is supposed to be categorizing, AOE is supposed to be categorizing and what kind of construction projects are needed throughout the state. And they're supposed to be starting to put together a plan for building. So.
Be something nice that we haven't seen in a while.
That's it. That's all.
Okay, Mark, go ahead.
So this question is sort of for both Laura and Lori. S100, the universal meals bill coming out of the Senate. I see you shaking your head. I guess my question for Lori is, how much if that passes and there's no funding and that all falls on our taxpayers, which is the way the Senate is looking like they're going to vote on it, how much additional money would we be looking at having to raise to cover universal meals for the district?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I mean, right off the bat, it would be any of the full pay parents that are paying right now, which is somewhere around, I want to say $16,000 roughly. I mean, that's right off the bat, but universal meals is a different ball of wax in how you calculate it. It also is concerning. Well, as you know, West River's been doing it and it's been fairly successful, but more costly than anticipated. But the other issue with it, and Laura can probably attest to this too, is, and what I'm really worried about is the data collection around it. So, all of the federal grants that we receive are based on free and reduced numbers. Any grants, even outside of the federal, that we apply for want free and reduced numbers. And if everybody's getting the meals for free, it's very hard to get those applications in. We've had to work very hard in West River to get those in. So I anticipate it will be that the rates will plummet, to be honest with you. And that's very concerning for other funding. think it's great to feed the kids, but you know, we have to think of the bigger picture. So I don't have that number off the top of my head, but you can start with 16,000.
Lori, what did you say? What rates do you think are going to plummet?
The free and reduced
I
rates,
see.
because we have the applications
Yeah.
in, so, you know.
Yeah. And so I would only add that, you know, a number of districts across the state are offering this now. And just another demonstration project for the inequity that exists in our system. And just like the school construction piece that I was just talking about. So we shall see. I think the notion of feeding all the kids, you know, I mean, figuring out how to get that in for lunch and breakfast, great. But, you know, I think we have to make sure, I think, and Laura, I'm really glad to hear about that issue, Lori, which I don't think is on too many people's radar, but.
The Senate decided to ignore that particular part of the issue.
I can say one thing is that has been an issue since I can remember being on the board, because we would have families that wouldn't put in an application for the free and reduced because they could afford it. But we try to tell them in Dover that put it in because the levels are so high. If you've got 3 or 4 kids, that, you know, a lot more people qualify than you would think. And even if you still don't want to accept it, at least it would help the school. At that time, you know, the monies came right to the building. So it has been a real issue, you know, Lori, and I how do you stress that too? Because it's, you know, it's so easy now because everybody's doing it. It's, or, you know, like with West River doing it, there's no incentive to fill out the form really. So it is a hard thing.
We've had raffles, honestly.
Okay. I see Dana, you got your hand up? You gotta unmute yourself though.
Oh yeah. Hey, so I'm a parent of children at Dover School, and I did not fill out the paperwork because I didn't think that we qualified. So was that my mistake? Should I have filled it out so that you guys would have received the funding? And I apologize for that because I, in good faith, thought, like, I looked at it, I said, oh, you know, like, thank God we can afford to feed our children. I'm not going to take something that would go to another child. I didn't realize, and maybe that was my mistake, was that you guys would receive the funding anyway. They weren't going to, like, look at my tax return.
I think, Lori, it goes to the district now, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and we want people to fill it out because people don't really know if they qualify or not until it gets put through the system. And like Rich was saying, if you have 3 or 4 children, the income level goes up. So you might qualify and not realize it. So it's always better to err on the side of filling out the application. You may not qualify for free and reduced lunch, but there's probably, you know, a percentage of parents out there that do qualify that don't think they do. And that's where we get hurt. And then if everybody's getting the meals for free, nobody has any incentive to fill out the paperwork at that point. So that adds to the problem. But does that answer your question?
Yes. Is it still rolling? Can I do it now, or we have now missed the deadline?
Actually, maybe Matt or Tammy can answer that question. I think you've missed the deadline at this point.
Sorry, guys.
I think it's always open, isn't it? Because people's situations
true.
change.
They can move in. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
And Lori, I think when we did it, I think it was either the end of Martin Leggett's term or just when Susan first started. And I think, Dana, to your point, I think we wound up with like 30% of the people who applied who didn't need the help, but they qualified. And it's, you know, we get at that time, you got a bigger reimbursement than what we were charging for the lunch. So it really helped the lunch program, you know, the food program. So I would encourage everybody, even if you think, wow, my husband and I are both working and we're both making more money than we should be. And things are great. We don't need the help, but it helps the school. So
I'm glad that I learned that tonight. Is there a website that I can go to, or where can I go and fill this out and tell all my other parents to do it too?
Matt, would you have that
Yeah.
website? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So what we'll do is several times a year, we'll send that information home typically and remind parents of, that even if you don't qualify, the school can receive more federal money, or even if you don't use the lunch and you qualify, there's so many metrics that are based on that free and reduced lunch number that it can really help the schools, utilize those federal grants a little bit more. So we just send home a form, Dana, and we'll ask you to return it, and we count them up, and then Lori O'Hearn will submit the counts to the central office who does all the booking on it. And that's how we do it.
Hey, Dana, I appreciate that, but I need to just jump to something else, and we'll come back to you if you have something else. Mark, hang on one second too. Laura, so on the waiting study implementation, the Senate bill and stuff, we're all set with that? Are you all good? The wait, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yep.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay. My only question was, we had the waiting study implementation under old business. Are you all set with that? You and Mark talked about it a little bit. Was there anything else before you leave you wanted to tell us other than keep the pressure up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to just stay in contact, and when alerts are coming, respond to them. Mark's been pretty good about reaching out on those. There's so much that is going on, and people are, legislators are, like, oh, there's so much money here. They can't really conceive that there could be an issue that's going to happen, right? So, so that's it.
Thank you.
Sorry to have to leave. Thank you, everyone.
Dana, I'm going to go back to you if you're still here. Were you all set with everything, Dana? Okay, Mark, you were next then. Go ahead.
I just wanted to stress what Lori said, which is that there's so many other federal grants that are based on that number, that it's not just the free and the lunch aspect of it that hurts us if people don't fill it out. So that was it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So I don't even know how that came up.
I asked about S100.
Okay. So Lori, under the annual report,
yes,
we were talking a little bit about that and how we were going to, so Lori was going to use, I talked to Lori today, and we're going to put a little disclaimer in where we show the tax rate, saying that, these numbers aren't set in stone, and that we hope to have more and better and more updated numbers at the informational and the annual meeting. And please don't be scared by this increase, because it may not be as bad as we thought. And if you all remember, the increase was a lot more when we were talking in January before Lori finished her magic with creating new students out of nothing. And then some numbers changed with the state. And also, the state, it was just something I saw somewhere, and Lori, maybe you remember, but when they do their yield information and how much they're going to send, they base it on what they think budgets are going to increase, and budgets did not increase what they thought they would. So there may be more money to make the yield higher. We don't know until the legislature votes. And they shoot for the beginning of May to be the end of April to be out. I did talk to Laura a little bit about it, if she was still here, but she said it was okay to say, they do try to get out at the end of April. So hopefully before we go to informational meetings, they'll be gone. I don't think so, because of meeting remotely, how well it works or doesn't work. But you'll also have a better feel for where some of the bills are. So hopefully that'll give us some better report. So Lori, I think if we could maybe, now that we've voted and we've got the agenda for the annual meeting, I'm going to finish up my letter. I was waiting to see what we did with a few of these articles to make sure, so I can talk about them in my report. And then Rick, I'll send that to you, and it'll be from you and I. If you have anything you want to add to it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. So then maybe at the next meeting, can we review the annual report and will that give them enough time to get it out?
Yes, Liz has been working on it. She's got the framework all built, so she's basically just waiting for a budget, which I'll put in there. And then we'll put the projected tax rate, because that's what it is at this point, is projected, and put the little notes there. I'll probably include a couple of the graphs out of the budget package that I did. Is there anything else that needs to go in?
Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to make sure that we're going to have line numbers and not account numbers on the budget, like we talked about a year ago, I think.
Okay, line number.
And if you want to send me the Excel sheet, I'll do all that work because it's tedious.
Okay, I guess maybe we can talk about what you're referring to. I must have missed that meeting, but I can take out the account codes. That's not a problem. Are you just talking about, like, in Excel, the row numbers?
Just the numbers, so that when a question comes up at the informational meetings or at the actual school board meeting, that you can refer to a line number.
Okay, I can do
that was all.
Yeah, I think at last year's meeting, people were asking questions and we were confused what they were asking about. So we thought if they say, well, go to page 12, line 13, then we're all on the same page in line.
Excellent. I can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Any other comments on the report? And again, we'll get to see it next meeting, hopefully in its entirety, and we can vote to approve to send it. The other thing, Mark, that would be helpful is, we send it out to all the voters, but we try to do it by household. So we actually go through the voter checklists and we group husbands and wives together so they only get one. And sometimes there's kids, like my kids are, when they were on the voter checklist, instead of having 4 sent to my house, we made it just 1, and I put my wife's name on it just to save myself from getting in trouble. So I know that what's her name, who used to do the report, did Wardsboro. So we're gonna need somebody to do Wardsboro and somebody to do Dover, but it changes, it cuts like the number of reports we have to send out by about 30 or 40%. So we'll have to get on that pretty quick too.
That Rich, we can talk about that. I think that's an easier way to do it.
Oh, there probably is, but me and technology. So we kind of skipped around a little bit to get some stuff so that Lori could leave and Laura could leave, but unfortunately Lori's got us stuck with us. So I'm going to go back up to members of the public. Is there anybody who wants to make any comments from members of the public? You don't see anything. We just got, we only have 16 people. How about members of the staff? I see we got Sue here. No, okay, then I'm going to move on to review and approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2021 meeting. Mark, you brought something up about that. Help me remember what you asked.
I asked if we could do it towards the end of the meeting, but I'll make a motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
I move that we approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2021 meeting.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so Rick seconds it, Mark moved it. Go ahead, Mark.
On page 2 in the middle, well, Rich already brought this up, but we had a roll call. You just need to add the individual votes. On the first line of the last paragraph, under full-time in-person instruction, towards the end, instead of the word day, D-A-Y, you have T-A-Y. On page 4, in the middle, paragraph begins with Mr. Schauber asked the financial impact of the 23 students. The explanation was that the count was taken in October, so that it wouldn't change. It wasn't wasn't because it had nothing to do with the actual number of students in the building. It was because it was done already. On page 7 in the middle, you have Mr. Schauber moved that the board join the coalition. You actually have the proper motion at the top of page 8, except that you have Dwight moving it, or it was actually Rick. And then last, also on page 8, under other business, you conflated 2 meetings there. The policy meeting, the policy committee met Friday morning at 9, and the coalition met that Thursday at 5 p.m. That's everything I have.
Okay, Rick, you seconded. Do you have anything?
No. I think Mark got more than I would have gotten ever. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Any comments? Peter, I hate to do it to you, but I got a few too.
You sent me a list and I corrected those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I got that list already. I'm going to add marks to that one before we post.
Okay, I had a few things and I sent them to Peter. So what we're going to try to do is we're just going to try to review it before it goes out. So Peter, before you send it out, just send it to Mark and I, and let's take a quick gander at it. It may just save us some time in the future. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you, buddy. Okay. Motion's been made, seconded. There's been some corrections. Are you ready to vote?
Ready?
If you are, all those in favor say aye.
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 Appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Cool. Correspondence, I have none. Matt or Tammy, am I missing something? Okay. Under financials, I had date and location of informational meetings. If it's okay with you all, can we put that off to next meeting?
Yes.
I'd like the board just to make sure we can all be on the same page together.
Fine by me.
Okay,
That
Mark, you
works.
good? Heard from Kate. Dwight, you good, sir?
That's good.
Okay. Lori, I had Affirm Payables, and I thought that came from Bill. Is that something I'm need to do, or is that all set?
No, the board just needs to affirm the payables. You approve them, but there should be more than one person approving. So just typically just approve the total amount. You've checked them all over, and
Okay, what's the amount?
I thought he gave that to you. Hold on. I will.
I don't have it. And you know what we should do is we should put that, we should attach that, maybe put a number on there on the agenda from now.
Yeah, we talked about that, actually doing that. Just 1 second, sorry.
Rich, while she's
All right.
looking for that, can I ask a question?
Oh, please. Not to Lori, though.
No, to you.
Okay.
We haven't seen that. I know you did. Are we voting on just a number without seeing the payables?
Yeah, so here's where I'm always confused. And Lori's a lot more of a taskmaster. She does a much better job than I have had done in the past. So we vote at the annual meeting to allow a board member to sign pay warrants so that if something comes up and for some reason we don't meet because there's a snowstorm or for whatever reason, a pandemic, at least one person can approve the pay warrants. Unfortunately, and Lori will correct me if I'm wrong, the auditors don't like that. They want to see us actually vote on as a board, which makes no sense because we, as a board, approve one person review them. They got to go through Lori, they got to go through Marco, they got to go through. Lori's got some assistants in the office that actually do it. So I think it's kind of like just a rubber stamping, but if people aren't comfortable, what we can ask is that, Lori, why don't we just do this from now on? When something gets dropped off for me to see,
Yeah,
send it to the entire, let's send what you're dropping off. Can it just get scanned and sent to the entire board?
absolutely.
Actually, and just have Bill, scan it and send it to me. I'll sign off on it if it's in between meetings, and then the rest of the board can have it.
Okay,
So maybe, Lori, I'm going to put this one off, and if you would send this one out, and we'll do it at the next meeting.
perfect.
Is everybody okay with that?
So if I could just clarify, I'm going to send it to the whole board, but Rich is going to approve it so we can get the funds out the door, because otherwise I can't wait for all of you to get back to me.
Don't ever listen. Lori's going to send it out, but don't respond to it. Just look at it. If you have questions, they go to me, and then I'll take care of them. But I'll approve it if I'm good with it, and then we can discuss it and affirm it at the following meeting. Is everybody all set with that? Okay with that? Kate, you all set?
Yes. Yes.
Dwight and Rick? Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, Lori, sorry about that. Go ahead, Mark.
I want to ask Lori another question. At the last meeting, we had you had on the screen the spreadsheet about the capital costs and all that. Can you send that spreadsheet out to us?
I put a link in there into the last one. You couldn't access it through the link.
Where was the link?
The link, it was right below that where we listed out what was going to be spent out of the capital. I'll send the link directly to you, Mark.
Okay, you meant in the budget?
I put it in the document, the budget document that I sent out on Friday.
Okay, I didn't
put a
see
link
it,
to
but
the.
I didn't see it, but I also printed to look at it, so I probably wouldn't see a link.
Okay, I'll send the link to you.
Look for it.
Okay. Do you want me to send the link to the whole board? That'd be handy for everybody.
Just if people want to see, because if they don't want it, they can just delete it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Mark, you good? Okay. So the next thing is under old business, we covered the first topic. Bill or Tammy, is there anything you want to update on the full-time instruction? And maybe just let people know, have we heard from all the parents?
Matt, go ahead and I'll follow your lead.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we've heard back from most. There have been a couple of families that that haven't made their choice yet. We're giving people till, well, probably around April 2nd or so to make that, to let us know what their choice are. The majority of people are returning to school. There's only a couple of families that we haven't heard from. There are a few families that will be required based on their own circumstances to shift to homeschooling, health issues, caring for folks in their household that they don't feel comfortable making the shift. At this point, it's only so far a very small handful of those people. So we're pushing forward and planning for a full opening on the 26th, and looking forward to some other changes with Unified Arts, allowing music classes to kind of go back to normal. PE is shifting. Well, PE's been pretty much outside every day all year. I think there were 2 days so far this year that they haven't been able to be outside because of pouring rain, but otherwise they've been outside almost every day. Other than that, starting to think about our moving on ceremony at the end of the year for the 6th graders, and thinking about what's going to happen in summer. So
Summer school.
Summer school, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And you'll talk to us about that in the future.
Yes, yeah, we're just beginning those talks now. So
Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah, very similar, things have happened in Wardsboro. A letter went out to families alerting them of the change. Teachers have also been alerted. The administration is working with families to make for, some smooth transitions to either in person or the possibility of home study if they so choose to do that. And we too are looking forward to having live music classes again, and taking advantage of hopefully some really nice weather outside, for lots of outdoor activities. So
Cool. Any questions for Tammy or Matt? Okay, let's move on then. So we talked a little bit at the last meeting that we were going to speak to, we're going to ask to have a deep dive done into our budgeting and into our operations and into the capital and the reserve plan. So these are just kind of some of the notes I put together. I don't know if everybody can, I couldn't find it the other day. And Bill, I think, may have sent it to us. But a couple years ago, before pre-pandemic, I think we call it PP, we had those, that's probably not a good term to use for it. But we had kind of identified some things that we were looking forward to for our school district. And there was a list. And on that list, there were some things that I think Bill sent out, and I can't find that either. And I have such a tough time in meetings now. But some of the things were, I think Lori and Gregory started a deep dive with Matt and Tammy on the capital building budgets. We wanted to look into, and I think Mark, you and Dwight maybe were on a committee about transportation, or there was two, one from each side, maybe Barry, for looking at, how the transportation works and whether we could get West River to pick up transportation instead of us doing it. And Lori had said several times when she had a little bit more time, she'd like to look into the operational budget a little bit. So I asked Bill if he could maybe just framework for us kind of the two extremes in what we have. One extreme would be we tuition everybody. We don't run any schools. Two, we run multiple buildings, maybe even a middle school or high school, who knows? And then kind of what we're doing now, so we can kind of get a look at those. Not like an exact number that it would be $3.12, but in generalities. And then the 5 major topics from a couple years ago was that all students demonstrate proficiency and growth, and there was like 5 items under that. A budget that voters support and approve, and that we can justify, and it's in line with previous budgets. That we get the families, there was 3 subcategories under that we get the families more involved, and there's 4 subtopics. The board provides updates and easily accessible information, a variety of multimedia outlets to the community. There were 5 items. And then personalized learning plan for every student. And by the fall of next year, we're looking at 5th and 6th grade to have a personalized learning plan, and that the student parent teacher conferences would be the parent teacher conferences would be student led. So there's not a lot that we need to discuss with it tonight, but we're going to charge a superintendent to do that and report back to us in a couple months so that we can look forward to and start figuring out where we want to go in the future, and that when we come up to budget time next year, we're not saying, oh, we were supposed to discuss all this stuff. So Lori, is there anything from Bill that he wanted brought up, or you guys are just going to start looking into this stuff and report back to us, or? You're muted too, Lori.
I think just some parameters maybe that would be good. I mean, obviously the capital, the building deep dive of the capital, that's started. So that really is just a continuation of that with the building committee and into transportation. But I think the deep dive into operations, some parameters around what you would like to see.
Okay, so my thought had been that you guys show us what it looks like from the extremes, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
If anybody has any different thought, now's the time to speak up. Go ahead, Lori.
You're Just to clarify, so an extreme for you would be to become like Stratton and to tuition pre-K through 12. That would be one extreme.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other extreme is, we run multiple buildings. Maybe we add another building, split grades up even more. I mean, I don't know, whatever is an educationally sound proposal. I mean, is there anybody on the board that has any stomach to look into starting our own middle school and high school program?
I have a question. What kind of level of effort is it for these numbers to be run? Like what do we, like, what kind of work does this take to do this exercise?
It takes some brainstorming. The tuition everybody is a fairly easy exercise because there's, general tuition rates out there that, and counts of students. So that's not really that difficult. To talk about a new building and that type of thing, those are a little bit deeper time and just, time to really brainstorm and have a good thought process around it.
So when they did it, Kate, for West River, they did 5 scenarios, or 12 scenarios.
12.
Right. And that was for 5 different schools. Buildings. So ours is not as difficult. And the reason we didn't get it before was they were dealing with the other districts. So I think it's our turn now. That's kind of why we asked for it. And I think if you guys want to talk about parameters, I mean, one of the things is I don't think, in Dover we looked at doing a middle school and a high school, and it was just nowhere near cost effective, and there was no buy-in from anybody because they didn't want their child to lose that middle school experience, possibly in the same place they were going to be in high school. But I think we may want to just concentrate on the elementary level. But the other part on secondary too is I think one of the things we should look at is what if we aligned with the high school, so there was no more secondary school choice. I think that's another parameter that we may want to set. So Mark, I'll get to you in 1 second. So that's the kind of things that I kind of want them to just show us some numbers and show us. And again, it's not going to be exact numbers. And, you're 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, maybe, to do any of this stuff. So it's just looking at, numbers at this point in time. It's not looking at what it would be 5 years out. But if at this point in time, we say, by us adding another building, say, using an existing building to have 3 buildings that we run, and it could save us $100,000, in 1 year, we can extrapolate that over 10 years, that's $1 million. So that's the kind of stuff I think we're looking, my intent was to have it. Mark, go ahead.
I guess I wouldn't want to put any guardrails on there. They're the professionals, come back to us with a few different scenarios that make, maybe one that makes financial sense, one that makes academic sense, and then one that's something in the middle. Just as an example, I'd rather not say, tell us whether X makes sense or Y makes sense. I'd rather you guys let us know what you think.
Dwight, you got any thoughts, sir?
No, I think that makes sense to explore some options, as long as it's not too much work involved and take away from some of the other things they're doing. But if it's something simple that we can get a broad stroke, and then that would be helpful.
Okay. Rick?
I think that all sounds good to me. Thanks.
Okay. And Kate?
Yeah, that works. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like some type of crazy heinous level of effort that was distracting from other tasks. But okay, thank you.
It'll take 12,000 of Lori's minions to spend 100,000 hours at the grindstone.
It wouldn't surprise me. Budgets are no small level of effort, and budget what ifs are, it can be a huge time expense.
Yeah, Lori's a budget master though.
She is. She's very
They
good.
used to have a car named after her. Mark, you okay, sir? Lori, is that enough for you to bring back to the boss man?
Yeah, I think that what Mark said resonates with me, makes financial sense, makes academic sense, and then somewhere in the middle, and that sort of opens up the thought process of how things could be. So,
And what we're doing now too. I mean, is there something that has been blaringly obvious to you for a couple years? One of the big things, if you remember, the first year we sold the budget, we said, hey, look, we basically took the two schools and just combined their budget. We didn't change much of anything at all. I don't think we actually changed anything at all. And we were just one budget now instead of two.
Right.
And we really haven't changed a lot since then. So, that's kind of, is there somewhere for any cost savings that we've missed? And again, if we spent more money somewhere, would it save us money down the road? And thinking back to Dover, we went to the voters and at the height of Act 60, before Act 68, we recommended a $60,000 expenditure for a preschool program that costs us 6 times that. I'm sorry, 30,000 that costs us 6 times that, to have a preschool that we said would save us a lot of secondary money, a lot of money in special ed down the road. And luckily we were proven right. So, I mean, I'm even, willing to entertain something, a one-time expenditure, that might save us money, pay dividends down the road.
Mhm.
I think that's, what we're not asking to, make sure the budget goes down. We want a smart operating budget. What was that book that gentleman wrote? Smarter Budget, Smarter Schools or something?
yeah, something like that.
Okay, so I think we're good there, guys. Unfortunately, new business, return in-person school district. Oh, I'm sorry. This is different. So under new business, I have return to in-person school district meetings. I'm going to ask, because Laura asked for this to be on the agenda, I'm going to postpone that till next meeting if you're all okay with that, unless somebody adamantly objects. I see head shaking, okay. I had this AASPP, Addressing Academic Support Post-Pandemic. This is an acronym that Doug Korb from Marlboro came up with. And Matt and Tammy, I'm kind of don't know if you guys have probably already done this, but we need to know, because you guys have been doing this hybrid remote. We lost, the end of last year. It was over a year ago that I think schools got shut down. What do we need to address academic support post-pandemic? And we don't need an answer tonight, but I'm going to put this under old business, and maybe you guys can talk with Bill and Lori and your staffs and see if there's something we're missing, if that's okay with you guys. Anybody got any questions on that? Also under new business, Matt sent around to everybody. I just wanted to put a little plug in, because we're being recorded and I don't know where that other Rich is. But if you're interested in IB swag from the Dover IB school, contact Matt and he'll send you a link to the website, and you can buy really neat shirts and hats and sweatshirts and even IB masks. So go there. Tammy, you guys are doing anything like that? Selling shirts or t-shirts or hats or?
We have in the past. We haven't gotten one together yet this year, but in the future, when it's available, I'll certainly let everyone know.
Yeah, let everybody on board know.
Sure.
And Matt, you should get a couple. You should get a couple to model so that people can see them while we're in a school board. If they can send you a pre-run, or maybe like send the board chair one, and he'll wear it because he's styling. Dana, did you want to make a comment? I see you turn your. Go ahead.
I do. I am actually going to purchase Dover swag. I'm even going to buy some for Grandpa and Nono and send them some in the mail. So my question is, and I wanted to separate from this is, so the Dover Swag supports Dover. It's like a fundraising effort. So me as a parent, because I saw on Old Business, families are involved. So how can families get involved in fundraising for the district, like raffle, auctions? I mean, is that something that we can do or has been done in the past by the parents or the school board or PTA or let's hit people up for money?
So when my kids were going to Dover school, somebody wore a T-shirt into the building that said, "Wouldn't it be cool if schools got all the money they wanted and the military had to have a bake sale to buy a new bomber?" And unfortunately, school boards raise money by going to the taxpayers and saying, "This is a budget. We recommend you support this." There is some issues with school boards trying to raise money outside or collect, or for people to raise money on behalf of the school, because there's all sorts of tax and liability issues. That's why usually the fundraisers are done through like the PTO or PTA, whatever group that is, because they do have a tax ID number, and then they do raise the money and then they decide how they want to use it. If you were to make a donation to the school, you could say, "I'm going to give you money." And we have had this happen in the past where people have given money for a specific thing, like winter sports one year. Somebody gave some money to have, it was actually the Diamond family. Eileen had been a teacher at Dover School. Her husband was the general manager and a vice president for SKI, and they owned a ski shop. So they wanted to encourage people to ski. So they did scholarships for people to get ski passes and ski equipment. We used to argue on Act 250 hearings for commercial properties to make a donation to the school to support extra activities. So there is actually still, I think, a little bit of money in a fund in Dover School from the Kingswood group when they were building townhomes. And that was meant specifically to augment like the athletic, the gym program, or whatever we call it now, physical fitness. So there are some items like that, but my biggest suggestion is, if you want to raise money, is get involved with the PTA, PTO, or Dover Parents Group and the wards. I'm not sure what they're called, but and I'm sure
Wardsboro School Club.
Okay. And they do some really great things. I mean, several years ago, the Dover group bought jackets and for all the teachers, shirts for all the teachers. What did they buy for the teachers? That was before you met. That was Bill. That's where I got my Dover school board jacket, or my Dover school jacket. They raised so much money, they bought the school board at the time jackets. They bought the teachers jackets too, I guess, then, because if we got them, the teachers must have. So that's the kind of stuff they do. And that's where it would be appropriate. Okay. Thank you, Dana. If there's nothing else, do you guys want to move into policies, Mark and Kate? Kate's gone. Oh, Kate's there.
I'm here. My internet.
Okay. Well, so Mark, you had some existing policies, Mark and Kate, that you guys reviewed. Who wants to speak to them?
Kate, do you want to take it, or if your internet's not good, I can go ahead and do it. Up to you.
Yeah, if you want to take and I'll supplement, that might be better.
All right. So the first one is C9, Federal Child Nutrition Act Wellness Policy. The policy was reviewed by the VSBA 2 Novembers ago now. They removed some footnotes that were inconsequential. Myself, Kate, and Tammy did make a selection in section 4D. There was a section that was, let me just pull it up, that should have been decided on earlier but hadn't been, in regards to how to, let's see, require nutrition guidelines for classroom celebration food provided by parents or community organizations. So the two options were Number one, actually, there are three options. You could write your own, or there are these two that were in the built-in policy. Number one is, it is a policy of the district that when feasible, food provided but not sold should be limited to those foods that improve the diet and health of students, help mitigate childhood obesity, and model healthy choices. And number two, food provided but not sold will, at minimum, comply with the Smart Snacks standards. We opted to recommend number one, which is longer, but seemed more feasible in our district, a little bit more flexible. And that was it. The committee is recommending to the board that it be warned and adopted. Since it's got a relatively major change, we feel that probably should be warned again.
So are you making that motion, Mark?
Just about to, yeah. I move that that we warn C9 Federal Child Nutrition Act Wellness Policy as updated by us.
Okay. Somebody
Kate
like
seconds.
Kate seconds it. Thank you, Kate. I think that's so just we could maybe I don't think it's that huge a change, but it's always better to err on the side of caution. So Mark, I think that was a good recommendation, Mark and Kate and Tammy. So we're going to warn this and then we'll adopt it after it's been posted for 2 weeks. So does everybody understand that? Mark, you got any other comments?
I had a question from Matt. What happens to our leftovers?
So we generally don't have much leftovers. Bob does a really good job anticipating the food amounts. So it's rare that it's more than a few servings of food that are left over. So at this point, really nothing happens to them. If they're eaten, he'll put them in the fridge, and if somebody forgets lunch and they need food, we may reheat some leftovers, but we don't distribute them in any way to families, or there's no program that gets the leftovers out in the community in some way, if that's what you're wondering.
It was, but it sounds like you don't have really leftovers to take care of anyway. So
yeah, it's pretty uncanny when you get a chef who knows what they're doing. We have a good system for knowing exactly how many servings that we have to make every day. We have spreadsheets that go back and forth between Wardsboro and Dover every day that count the number of breakfasts, snacks, and lunches that we have to produce. So it really comes down to, if you get a few kids that forget lunch, you want to have a few meals on hand in case somebody's hungry. But for the most part, we get the counts pretty good, and we are not wasting food at the cooking level. And I stress that at the cooking level, because I think Tammy might agree that sometimes at the compost level, it's a little hard to see some of the food waste, but that's a daily project.
Sounds like you guys are down to a science, so that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kate, do you have any comments as the second or the person who made seconded it?
Nope, no comments.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All those in favor of posting posting policy C9, Federal Child Nutrition Act Wellness Policy, please signify so by saying aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. So Matt and Tammy, can you make sure that gets warned and posted, please? Mark,
Yes.
grade advancement. Speak to that one.
I shall. So D2 is a policy that was removed from the VSBA policy manual because the state board rule that governed it was taken out, and I believe it was put into statute instead. That's what Bill had told me. So we are recommending two things, but for D2 specific, we are recommending that we remove the policy. We will come back to you in the next section with D50, which would, in essence, would be a replacement for it. But right now for D2, we're recommending that we remove it, and I'm making that a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Kate seconds that motion.
Okay, so Mark moved and Kate seconded. So Mark, any other comments?
Nope, good.
Kate, you have any comments?
Nope, no comments.
Okay, and does anybody have any comments in this motion to delete this, do away with this policy? Okay, I have one quick comment, Mark and Kate and Matt and Tammy. One of the things that we put in this, and I didn't see it in the new one, was that, you know, any decision on either advancement or, you know, holding a student back ultimately fell to the school administrator, or, you know, the administrator in the building. Is that in that new one, Mark? Because I didn't see that spelled out.
I believe it is. That's the old Dover policy.
Right, that was, but I know that really, that was one of the things that we had spent
Yes.
a lot of time on.
In all cases, the final decision regarding retention will rest with the principal on page 202.
Of the new one you're proposing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good then.
It's
Okay.
it's the very last item on page 2. Thank you, Kate.
Okay, so that's really been why I missed it. All right, so if everybody else is all set, if you're ready to vote? Hey, all those in favor of doing away, deleting policy D2, signify so by saying aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. We now got one less policy for Matt and Tammy to worry about. New policies, Mark, C28, transgender and gender nonconforming students.
With your permission, I'd like to go to D50 first, just because it follows.
Okay, go ahead then. Go to D50, sir.
So in discussing the removal of D2 from our policy manual, it was suggested by Matt that there had been times when he had to lean on that very last line that Kate just read from page 2. Because of that, we felt that it was important to have a policy in place for the administrators to lean on if it was necessary. So therefore, we are recommending that we warn D50, which with only the change in name is the same policy that had been in place in Dover. And that is a motion I am making.
Okay, so Mark is moving that we post and warn policy D50, grade advancement, retention, promotion, and acceleration. Do I have a second to that?
Kate seconds.
Okay, so Kate seconds it. Mark, any other comments?
I would just ask Matt and Tammy if either of them have any comments they'd like to make. Other than that, no, I don't have any.
Okay, Kate, you have any comments?
No, I would also defer to Matt and Tammy, as this has the most impact on them.
Okay, Matt and Tammy, you have any comments?
Just to echo what Mark said, it's come in handy sometimes, and appreciate it being there.
Yeah, I just appreciate the support for both Mark and Kate supporting it.
Okay, and I can speak as a school board member for years that this and the what age your child has to be by when are the two biggest things that we get when people would come to the board about. More so in the past, but I think because the board has had good policies and we haven't varied the policy, and again, only a board can give an exception to the policy. I think it's reduced the number of requests that have come to the board. So it may not be a bad thing. And as long as that was in there, and I don't know why I missed it, I think you guys did a good job on it. So thank you. If there's no other comments, are you ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of posting and warning policy D50, grade advancement, retention, promotion, acceleration of students, signify so by saying aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. So Matt and Tammy, you'll post them. And Mark, you'll have to remind me because when we do the next agenda, we'll have to put on for C9 and D50 to have the vote on the to adopt the policy. Do you want to do the C28 one now?
I do, yes. So C28, transgender, gender non-conforming students. This is a policy that the committee spent a fair amount of time on, and we feel that it's important that the board state that it feels the importance of equality, and that nobody should feel put out by who they are. And that extends beyond this particular topic, but this is one that is in the news currently and has been an issue in other areas. So we talked about it. There was some concern about whether there were facilities available at both buildings. And in reading through the policy, we decided that there was enough leeway that there is that both buildings will be able to accommodate these students if they request it. So we are recommending, and I am moving, that we post and warn C28 transgender and gender non-conforming students policy.
Okay, do I have a second to Mark's motion?
Yes, Kate seconds.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to warn post policy C28 transgender and gender non-conforming students. Mark, anything else to add?
Nope.
And Kate, do you have anything to add?
I think this is an important policy in today's world, and I really do support this.
Okay, and I think moving it was just so that we had two kind of consistent policies. It doesn't show that we think one's more important than the other. So I think if anybody else has any comments.
Actually, Rich?
Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to say, because of because this is a topic that is in the news and an issue for some, we did make a point of making sure that that the committee meeting was both the one we just had and the prior one where we first started talking about this. We made a point of saying that particular policy was going to be brought up at our board meetings so that anybody could come if they chose.
I think nobody mentioned your comment in here, number 3, or did you say that? Then I missed it. Where, the committee wishes this policy wasn't necessary, but believes it to be in order to ensure that people's identity will always be respected.
I only said half of that, but yes.
Yeah, but I think that's a pretty important thing, Mark and Kate, and I think it was very appropriate in there, and I commend you guys for putting that in there. So, you guys ready to vote? Okay, it's so. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Did I get everyone? I think I got everybody. It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. So policy Charlie 28 is going to be warned and posted. So we'll have 3 to vote on to affirm and adopt at the next meeting. We're running a little over, but the only thing I got left is an executive session. We did the executive session anyway, so we're all set there. I don't have anything else. Kate, are you all good?
I'm all good.
Rick?
I'm all good.
Dwight?
All set.
Mark, I sent you that email with the agenda corrected. Just look at that. I'm gonna send that to everybody else in a few minutes. Just take a final look at it, and then I'd like to send it to Andy first thing in the morning. So Mark, maybe give me a call around 8 o'clock in the morning. And Andy usually winds up getting there at 9. So everybody probably check, I'll send out an email when Andy's got it ready to be signed to you all, so we can just all stop in and sign it. And Kate and Dwight, don't forget to turn in those consent forms, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you go ahead, Mark.
Just a reminder, the policy committee meets the second Friday of each month. So we'll be meeting April 9th at 9 o'clock via Zoom.
Cool. So I have our next meeting is April 5th, and we're gonna do that as a Zoom meeting. Is everybody good with that? So Lori, you'll find out all the stuff, and we'll be able to, for the financials, then we'll be able to take care of, we'll do a couple of them, probably the one for March and the one for April. Okay. Matt, don't forget to be sporting that shirt. Okay, guys, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:23 p.m.
Second?
Second.
Dwight seconds it. All those in favor say aye. Let's go.
Aye.
Good night.
Now,
Night, everyone.
Mark, take it, if you get a second, take a gander then. I'm in my office and give me a holler.
All right.
Okay?
Yep, I'll call you in a couple minutes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye, Peter. Bye,
Thanks, Rich.
you.
Good night.
Thank you, Rich.
Bye, Kate.
Night.
Thanks, guys. Good night.